Hi there, we're going to be talking about dividing decimals. So here's a problem that is a division problem that involves decimals. And we know how to divide with whole numbers, so we've just got to figure out how to do it now that there's decimals involved. Well, the first thing you want to do is rewrite the division problem so that it looks like a long division problem. And the way to remember where the numbers go is to remember FILO. And FILO stands for first in, last out. So first in, last out. Kind of like Tybo when we were changing fractions to decimals. FILO works as well. So the first number is 0.88. So in our division symbol, this little house, we're going to put the first number inside, 0.88. And we're going to put the last number outside. So 1.6 goes out here. All right, so step one is just setting up the problem to look like this. All right, for the second step, we're going to move the decimal because we don't know how to divide by decimals. And to remember how to move the decimal, we're going to remember this little story, the fox chases the rabbit. And I'll explain it in a minute. But basically, you're going to move the decimal point in the divisor, that's the number out here, and the dividend, that's the decimal in here, until the divisor is a whole number. So we want to move that decimal over until it's not a decimal anymore, until we get all the way over here so that it's a whole number. But kind of like when you simplify fractions, whatever you do at the top, you do at the bottom. We'll talk about that pretty soon here in class. But when you move decimal points, if you move it here, you got to move them here too. And so that, let me show you down here, 1.6, 0.88 is why I remember the fox chases the rabbit. So we kind of think of this first decimal point as a fox and the second decimal point as a rabbit. And if the fox starts to run after the rabbit, if it goes this way, then what's the rabbit gonna do? Well, if it's a smart rabbit, it runs away. So it moves over 1, 2. So if I move it once here, I move it once here. Now, the fox gets to the wall and he has to stop. But the rabbit can jump. So it's going to jump up. It's going to do that because it wants to be even further away from the fox. So the fox moves this way, the rabbit moves this way, and then the rabbit moves up. And that's where the decimal is going to go in your answer or in your quotient. All right, and this is helpful to us because now we're not dividing by a decimal anymore. We still have a decimal here, but we can divide by 16. We know how to do that. So before we get started, the last step I want you to do is rewrite the new division problem before you divide. All right, this is still kind of confusing and it's easy to make mistakes because you've got a lot of little stuff going on here. So we're going to just rewrite that. Our new problem is not 1.6, it's 16. And this is not 0.88 anymore, it's 8.8. The decimal moved here. All right. So again, does everybody see what we did? We moved it once here. We went this way. So we moved it once here. And then we moved it up. All right, so we've rewritten the problem. We know this decimal is going to go straight up. If you want to draw an arrow, you can. It's going to go right there. And as with adding and subtracting, you want to make sure to keep everything lined up. So try to write neatly as you do a division problem. 16. Will it go into 8? Nope, 0 times. That's an arrow if you can't see that. So 0 times 16 is 0. When I subtract, I get 8. The decimal's up here anymore. I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to bring this next 8 down. 16 will go into 88. Just guess. I don't know. Let's try 5. 16 times 5 is 30. Carry your 3. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 3 is 8. So 80 times. So that, what did I say? 5. So I'm going to write 5 above the last digit I dropped down, which was this 8. So 5 times 16 is 80. I subtract and I get 8. All right, I have a remainder, so I need to keep going, which means I need to add a 0 here and bring it down. 16 will go into 80. We already know that. It would be 5 times. So the 5 goes above the last digit I dropped, which was 0. 5 times 16 is 80. When I subtract, I get 0, and now I can stop. So my answer here was 0.55. All right, so let's practice some more. 2.64 divided by 0.6. The first step is to set it up. First in, that means the first number goes in the house, 2.64. The last number goes outside the house, 0.6. The second step is to remember the fox chases the rabbit. So here's my fox. It's going to move one place before it hits the wall, and then it has to stop. So the rabbit moves one place, and then it does what? It jumps up. Before I start dividing, I want to rewrite this problem. So on the outside now, the 6 is just a 6. And over here, the decimal is over here. So this is not 2.6 anymore. It's 26.4. Okay, it moved over here. I know in my answer, this decimal is going to actually be up here. So, again, I can't divide 6 into 2, but I can divide 6 into 26. So 6 will go into 26 4 times. So since I'm using the number 26 and not the number 2, I'm going to write the 4 above the 6. 4 times 6 is 24, and subtract. And I get 2. All right, I have another number to bring down, so I'm going to bring down the 4. 6 will go into 24 4 times. I'm going to write the 4 above the number, the last number I dropped, which was the 4. 4 times 6 is 24. I get 0. My final answer, 4.4. And number 2, start by setting it up. It's first number in, 0.009 in. Last number out, 0.18. Okay, fox chases rabbit. So over here, I'm going to move my decimal. 1, 2 times this time before it hits the wall. Whatever I do here, I have to do here, so I'm going to move my rabbit 2 places. 1, 2, and then it what? Jumps up here. Right? 2 places here, 2 places here. So the new problem is not 0.18, it's 18. I don't need the 0 because it was just a placeholder here. Same thing over here. I don't really need all these zeros because this is really 0.9. Now, if you want to put a 0 there, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. All right, so 0.9 goes here, and then we know that it's jumping up here. 18 will go into 9, 0 times. Please be sure you write the 0 there, okay? You have to hold the place. You always have to have a number above any number right here. So 0 times 18 is 0. When I subtract, I get 9, and then I can bring down another 0. 18 will go into 90. I'm just going to guess 5. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry your 4. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. So exactly 90. So I'm saying it goes 5 times. I'm going to put the 5 above the last digit to drop down. So 5 times 18 is 90. And then I can stop because there's no remainder. My final answer was 0.05. Now, if you want to put a 0 in front of there, in front of the decimal, you can. It's a placeholder, so it's not necessary, but if you like it there, then you can write it there. Last problem, set it up. First in. Okay, remember this is not about which number is bigger or smaller, it's the order. So it's first in, last out. This time I'm going to move my decimal, fox and the rabbit, 1, 2, 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3 spaces, and it hits the wall. Now, here, there is no decimal, at least not one that is written for me. So I have to figure out where the decimal is. So we talked about this when we were adding and subtracting. When you don't have a decimal place, and it's just a whole number, where do you put the decimal? I can either put it in front or behind. If I put it in front, then I've changed 6 wholes into 6/10. Is that the same thing? Not at all. If I put it behind, is it still 6 wholes? Yes. So that's where the decimal goes. It goes behind the 6. And then I moved it 1, 2, 3 places here. So I need to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 decimal places here. Okay, but there are no numbers here. So what do you think I'm going to do? What do we do when we don't have numbers? We fill them in with, are we saying zeros? I hope so. Zeros. So I'm going to fill it in with the zeros. So now my new problem is 24 on the outside into decimals way over here. Oop, I forgot to bring it up. Into 6,000. And my decimal moved right there. Okay. So 24 won't go into 6. It's going to go into 60. And I'm going to guess 2 times. I know that 2 times 24 is 48. When I subtract 48, I'm going to have to borrow. Be careful there. 10 minus 8 is 2. 5 minus 4 is 1. And then I can drop down the next 0. So I'm dividing 24 into 120. I need to guess. Let's say 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry your 2. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is, 120. So I'm going to put that 5, and this is where you got to be careful about where you're lining things up. What was the last number to drop down? This 0 here. So that's where the 5 goes. It goes above that 0. 5 times 24 is 120. I subtract, and I get 0. And normally, when I have a remainder of 0, I could stop, like I did, in this earlier problem. But there's still a number to drop down. I'm not done, so I have to drop this last 0 down. 24 will go into 0. How many times? 0 times. You have to use that last 0. So 0 times 24 is 0, and then you can stop. You have a remainder of 0, and there's nothing left to drop down. So this is 250. You don't have to have the decimal because we're just saying that's a whole number. It's not wrong if you do. All right, and your final answer is 250. So that's dividing decimals. So just to sort of sum it up, remember you're going to set it up first using first in, last out. So first number goes inside, last number goes outside the house. Then we need to get rid of decimals in the divisor. Now, if you're just having a whole number like here, let's see. Here we had a whole number with a decimal right here. We don't have to move this decimal. It's when the decimal's out in the divisor that we move it. To do that, we use fox chases rabbit. And remember, the fox moves and the rabbit moves, but then the rabbit, jumps up. Okay? So however many times you move it here, you move it inside as well. And then please, please, please rewrite your problem before dividing. You'll save yourself a lot of trouble. And it'll be a lot less confusing a problem if you'll rewrite it and then divide. All right, I'll see you soon.